Everyone has a unique gift, and Mike, the creator of the One Life podcast, believes most people don't know how to use their gifts or what they are. Mike wants you to see things from a different perspective and be true to yourself. The One Life podcast unites the world through art, fashion, music, and film. It inspires, motivates, and creates positive energy, love, and compassion to all communities and creates an equal playing field for all. On the One Life podcast, they cover topics like building relationships, overcoming adversity, habits of healthy people, and much, much more. We only have one life to live. Be yourself and live your truth. Add the One Life podcast to your playlist. That's the number one NE Life. Available on Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Podcast, and your favorite podcast platform.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to the One Life Podcast. I am Mike MIC Reed, and today we are back. Man, it's been a while. It's been a minute since I've been here. I know I've taken a long break. I want to apologize, but I also want to say thank you to all my guests and followers that stay tuned and follow me and gave me some encouragement over the past couple of months, because you guys know my story. You know, I had a break, maybe about, I want to say 6 months ago, where, I went through a little depression, and I got a lot of encouragement from you guys. And, it was very emotional and very, very surreal. But the great thing about it is, because everybody knows that, I study positive psychology. And it was one of the things that's, helped me through it, even though it was still hard. I know, Manny, you don't know the story that I'm talking about, but about 6-7 months ago, I went through a 1 week period where I lost everything, meaning house, income, one of my businesses, my car. I had to put my dog down, lost a relationship, like all in 1 week. Yeah. And typically, if you know me, like, I can handle a punch. I can handle adversity, if it's like one or two things, right? But 7 things in a week, like literally I had to start from the bottom.
Yeah, that's a lot, man.
When I tell you I had to start from the bottom, I literally did. And I literally thought my life was over, because I'm 53. I was like, there's no way I can start over at this point, like losing everything like that. And I had a few conversations with some people, and I just had to take it one day at a time. Like, it got to a point where I think a month later, I finally started to say, okay, I need to get out of it. I need to snap out of this, because I really was having suicidal thoughts, and I was done. I was like, there's no way I'm starting over. But I started thinking like, okay, what can I do today? What small task can I do today to make myself feel good that, hey, I completed something today? And it was just that one task. And I would take the rest of the day off. Tomorrow, do another small task. The next day, do another small task. To where I was just completing tasks. Next thing you know, got my house back, got my car back, got my income back from one of my businesses. Working now with you in the label. Like, great things started happening. And it was some of my closest friends that was like, Mike, God is just preparing you for greater things. Like, don't worry about it. But, in the time when you're in the midst of that storm, it's hard for you to think that way, right? So it's crazy, but, and even after that, I got back, I got good. And the reason why I took so much time off is because the holidays was coming up. I got into a car accident. And that's the crazy thing, because I had my brand new car for 3 months, and then I get into an accident. So I lost my car again. So I was like, oh, my God. So at that point, here come Christmas, and I was like, you know what? I'll just start up at the new year. Right. So just take the holidays off, start a new year. And here we are. So today I'm here with my training manager, Manny Avina. Is your last name Avina?
Avina, yeah.
Avina, yeah. From
my full name is Manuel Avina, but I go by Manny.
You go by Manny. I go by Manny.
Yeah,
first of all, I want to say thank you to you, because I learn something new about you every day. Like, I really do. Like, yesterday we had a meeting, and I didn't know a lot of this about you, but for you to come out here to the AV and bring this program out here to the AV, which we're going to talk about in a minute, and give up so much of your free time, family time, is pretty amazing. Yeah. Like, most people won't do that, but I can see the passion in you. Yeah. Like, when we go through our trainings, Like, I was telling you yesterday, I pay attention to people and their habits and all that.
Conscious habits too.
Yeah, like I can tell you're really passionate about what you're doing and what you're training us. Yeah. And I appreciate that because the whole AV out here needs it. Yeah. And for you to, like I said, sacrifice that to do this is pretty amazing. And I want to thank you on behalf of the whole AV because they need this.
Yeah, thank you for that.
And you're not from out here, so for an outsider to come out here and be like, man, I'm in this. Yeah. Like, yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, and I'm happy to be here. I have some friends out here, and I did work here before this new program that we're implementing in Lancaster in a different capacity. But this new program, it just, truthfully, we can talk about it a little bit more soon, but it brought a lot of life into me. So it goes both ways. Right. Just it's like a shot of adrenaline, reminding me of what I feel that I can do well and support people in. So yeah, it goes both ways. I'm so happy. I'm so lucky and blessed to be out here working with amazing people like you here in Lancaster. I've met so many amazing people here. Just so many community ambassadors. There's a tight-knit community here in Lancaster that I'm getting familiar with. So yeah, I'm super lucky and super happy to be here.
Thank you. So tell me about how did you get started in this? Like what? Because that passion has to come from somewhere, right? Yeah. Like I know it came from somewhere. I don't know your true all your backstory, but we know whatever you feel comfortable telling. You know, I want to know it.
Yeah. So it started the day that I was born. No, I'm just kidding. It started. I can start different areas in my life. I think I got specifically working into this field. I'd say unintentionally. Originally, I was studying psychology in Cal State LA. I lived in LA the majority of my life. And I was studying psychology, and I realized at a young age that getting that degree wasn't the only thing that was going to help me. I knew that I needed that experience, that 1-2 years of experience working with kids in person, because I wanted to do youth psychology. I wanted to work with kids with their mental health. So I knew that I needed that experience working with kids. So I found Alevo, which at the time was known as Sports for Learning. It was a different name they used to go by. And I found them in 2020, right in the middle of the pandemic, which actually, let me remember, because I think I was working with them before. No, 2020, it started in the pandemic. But the goal was for me to get field experience. The goal was for me to work a part-time job. I was still going to school, and I wanted to get that field experience. In the end, I realized that I really enjoyed what I did in Alevo, or at the time, Sports for Learning. We worked in a small program in Linwood, California, out there in South LA. That program, like I said, was in the middle of the pandemic, so it was a very limited start. They only had students who at the time were labeled as at-risk students, and now I've been made aware that term is no longer existent. More so we're using at-promise students. So it was only at-promise students. It was only students that were not attending their virtual classes. Their grades were not good. They needed that support. Their home life was not okay. They had ADHD. They had anger management issues. English wasn't their first language. So that virtual learning in the pandemic was not working for them at all. They did not get an education at all for those first few months when they were at home. So this program was a very limited launch. They had so many guidelines. We had to maintain 6 feet apart at all times. And they had these binders that they had to protect themselves when they sat at their tables. So even though we were inside the schools, we were doing their classes separately still. So they would all sit in the classroom on their laptop looking at their teacher virtually, even though they were in school. So our job was to integrate them back into a school setting so that they can be present in their school, start going to their classes, start doing their homework, start getting their grades up, just start being present and getting the education that they should have been getting already. So I applied for a regular coach position, just working with the kids. And throughout my interview process, my manager at the time, I guess she might have saw what you pointed out about the passion, and she offered me a leadership position at the school. So I became a site coordinator at the school, and I managed that program for about 2 years. And I gave a lot to that program. I cared so much about the kids. I met a lot of their families. I would, I hope this doesn't get me in trouble, but I would take some of the kids home because they didn't have that person to go be there for them and take them home. They didn't have reliable transportation. Their grandma specifically, I remember them to this day. I hope they're doing okay. But their grandma specifically asked me, like, I can't bring them to this program because I can't pick them up. Right. And I wanted them to be in this program. I saw the effect that they were having, the growth that they were showing. So I offered, I said, I can take them to you back afterwards. And she was okay with it. She said, yes, please. That's what she wanted. Just that program is really what reeled me in. And I ended up deciding to take a break from education, especially because of the pandemic. And I invested my time completely working in Alevo at the time, Sports for Learning. I started off I applied for that coach position, got the site coordinator position, and then just over time, I just started really nurturing that skill, that muscle of being able to connect with the youth, being able to mentor them in that first role in Alevo.
So before that, because I know you mentioned, and I've seen it too, the passion for working with kids. Like, Scott, I want to go back even further.
Yeah.
Like, and because I know you opened up to our class about it, that you was bullied. Back in school. Is that where the passion came from? Where, you know what, I want to be the difference. I want to turn this around.
I wouldn't say that's where the passion came from. I think that's where the direction came from.
Okay.
I wasn't in middle school thinking about I want to help people. I was in middle school thinking I need to survive this right now.
Right.
Like I grew up in Huntington Park. I lived in Maywood, went to middle school in Huntington Park. Nimitz Middle School, shout out to Nimitz out there. It was a tough experience growing up there, but they helped me become who I am today. So, it was heavy with gang violence. There was a lot of bullying present. I wasn't very social at the time. I was very secluded, but I did have some friends. But the gang violence was very present. I didn't want to be involved in that. I would see it. I saw what it did to people, and just the aggression never felt safe to me. I wanted to mind my business. I wanted to just be on my own. But I was a big kid. It would attract a lot of attention. I remember one time out of nowhere, someone tried to tackle me in the PE area, claiming that we were playing football, but they straight up tried to drop me down. And I remember standing my ground, and nothing happened. And I saw them kind of like, am I going to try him more? Should I kind of back off? And he ended up backing off. But that was kind of like the persona that I had to have, is I'm this tough guy.
Right.
Don't approach me. But it was still present. They tried to snatch my chain, all this stuff. It was my bike. Man, I love that bike, and they actually ended up taking it. But if you see someone with a purple and yellow fixie out there,
you want your bike back.
That's mine. Yeah, that's mine. I'd say that's not where it came from. I'd say that's a direction that I was given. But I'd say where it came from is just my identity. Have you ever done any of those identity wheel activities, those different kinds of identities that a person has?
Are you speaking more like a character strength?
Not a character strength, but for example, my identities, I'm an older brother. I'm an oldest son. I am a son of immigrants.
Okay.
I am, what else? It's just characteristics, I guess. I think you mentioned that define you. So like but it's different characteristics.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm also a heterosexual male, and so on. Like thinking in that box.
Okay. No, I've never done that one. I've done the character strengths. Like if you look up there, like those are my character strengths. So am I?
I see. You're a Libra. Is that the balance?
No. These are my character strengths.
Spirituality, fairness, gratitude, curiosity, and kindness.
Yeah. So
I see these in you. I see these.
So character, everybody has 24 character strengths. Yeah. Just like there's 5 love languages, right?
Oh wow. Right.
So there's 24 character strengths, and this is a free thing you get online that I think I forgot what university has it, but you can do it online. And so when I was in my psychology class, they had us do this, and they printed this out for us. So you have a top 5. You have a top 5, but then you have your middle character strengths,
right?
And then you have your lower ones.
Right.
Now we use all 24, but those are your top 5 that you use. And the theory behind it is you're supposed to take this like once every 6 months or once a year.
Oh, wow. And
so like my middle strengths, I'm supposed to work on those to get those into the top 5.
Wow.
And it's just a constant rotation.
Wow, yeah.
So, yeah.
That's a very important self-awareness tool, too.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I haven't done that one.
Yeah. It's actually pretty dope.
Yeah, hey, maybe we can do it in our training soon.
No, I was going to bring that up to you because we should, because I think when people, when you could see this, because like honestly, that was surprising to me. Like I can see it, but I always thought like leadership and all those things was going to be the top 5.
Yeah.
So leadership is way at the bottom.
Wow.
So I was like, wow, that's crazy, right? Yeah. So, but it just puts everything in a different perspective. It makes you think about, okay, what am I doing? Again, you're supposed to work on those middle ones and bring them up, and just it's a constant rotation.
Right.
So
yeah, that's cool. No, I was more so referring to the self identities, the different identities that we hold that may or may not define us. For me, we were talking about where that passion came from.
Yeah.
I'd say it is all of those things that I mentioned: being an oldest son, having 2 younger sisters, being a son of immigrants, and being an immigrant myself. I feel like I was naturally thrusted into a position. I was pushed into a position to care. Like I was raised, even though my parents tried their best, I was pretty much helping guide them in this country. They didn't speak Spanish. I mean English. They didn't speak English. Spanish was their first language. They would always make me read the mail. Parent conferences, I'd be translating. Like I had that responsibility, and I think just my sisters are a huge motivation for me as well. And I also, not to mention, I have a bunch of nieces and nephews that I love. But yeah, I think the passion really just came from caring for them, caring for my parents, caring for my siblings. And I'd say also I'm very self-aware about my strengths. I'm aware of my strengths. Like I know that, like you said, you can see people's subconscious habits. You can kind of get to know them based off of those. I see the same thing. Even when I'm presenting, I know you've been in my trainings a lot. I may seem like very like joyful and very like almost whimsical sometimes. Like I'm watching. Like I'm aware of all the side conversations. I'm aware of all of the drifting of the eyes. Like I'm aware of the natural habits of like just how people react. And that says a lot about what they're thinking. And a lot of people may see that and say, well, I know what they're thinking, so I know who they are. But I see that and I think I know what they're thinking and I know how to support them. I naturally care. Like I want to support the people around me.
And you know what? One of the things that I admire what you do when you're training us is no matter what someone answer is, and even with myself, like even yesterday, I was answering a couple of questions, and I knew my questions was probably off or anything. You never made me feel like, no, that's wrong. Like you've always was supportive. Okay, I see that, but then you would give an explanation and try to redirect the answer into a more of a positive.
Yeah.
Like you get what I'm saying?
Yeah. Because I agree, because it's, even though it's per se wrong in the moment, it's still a step towards growth.
Right.
Like I tell Rick that all the time.
Yes.
Like this idea, one of the things that we did was like a sign-in sheet. This sign-in sheet may fail with our students, but let it fail. Like let it fail so that we know what we can do better and where we can go from there. So yeah, I love whenever someone answers, and I preach vulnerability like crazy everywhere that I go, because without that vulnerability, there's no growth.
That's what I'm saying. You make people, like you say, you don't never tell. I've never heard you tell anyone that's the wrong answer.
Yeah.
Like everything you've always said, like made it seem like everybody's answer was right on point. Yeah. Even though we know, like, okay, that was kind of wrong, but you made them feel good because it is growth. They participated. Yeah. They're not just sitting there in class and not participating. Like if someone is actively, answering, regardless if it's wrong or not, it is a sign of growth, because the effort.
Exactly.
And it's okay to be wrong.
Yeah.
But my thinking, and this is the way I think, I don't believe in wrong, because it really depends on the perspective. Yeah. Like sometimes I know when I answer, because we're going to talk about this. We're going to talk about restorative practices versus positive psychology, because they're very similar, but they do have their own individual goals. Yeah. And sometimes when I answer, I know I'm coming from a positive psychology perspective, right? And I know you're restorative practice perspective. So that's why, like, when I answer, I'm like, okay, but I know that's what I'm trying to learn now, because I've been doing it for 2 years now. I know you said you've been doing it for over
about a year. Yeah.
So I'm still learning though. Like, I'm learning like what the differences is. I'm learning the two, and I can see the differences. But my mind is always, I've been on a mindset journey for the last 6-7 years. I want to say. And when I say a mindset journey, is like I like to talk. The things that intrigue me nowadays is kind of crazy, because oh my God, where is it at? I don't want to get it wrong. I like to talk about. Hold on, I'm gonna get this right, because. To become something else, you have to stop being what you are. You know, I'm reading this book right now called "Break the Habit of Being Yourself." Right.
Wow.
So it's a book by this doctor, and he combines the fields of quantum physics, neuroscience, brain chemistry, biology, and genetics. So when you talk about those things, and mind you, I was never interested in any of these things. Yeah. But when I read this book, I started getting into quantum physics, talking about, you know, your prefrontal cortex, how the brain works, all your habit loops,
how it affects you,
right? So when I started reading about this type of stuff, I was like, wow, now I get it, because I was always into energy, right? Yeah. Energy can't be created or destroyed. Yeah. The first law of transferred. Right, it's transferred from one party to another. So I've always been in tune with my energy. That's why, like, when I walk into a room, I can feel energy.
Man, I'll literally walk up to you. I'll check in on you. I'm like, hey, how you doing, Mike? Usually I get, I'm okay. I'm doing okay. From other people, but from you, it's bad energy. I'm out here just to recharge a little bit.
And I'm honest about it. Like, you know, and sometimes, I'm going to be honest with you, like, sometimes, and me and Lena and Perry talk about this all the time. Right. Like, so whenever, because I know you like to move us around, especially like Rick, but we do that and we laugh about it, is because sometimes when you put us in certain groups, like, you can feel the energy. Like, if you put me next to certain people, like, I can tell their energy is down. And even though I want to be a source where I can inspire them to get their energy up, sometimes it really is about, do they even want that?
It's protecting your energy too, right?
It's protecting your energy. Yeah. Exactly. Because sometimes I'm a true believer in, we all have choices. Yeah. Sometimes people just don't want it for whatever reason. Right. Some people, and I talked about this yesterday in our meeting, some people, we all learn and have different capacities, and we all learn on a different capacity, right? Yeah. So some people just don't want it right now, and that's okay. They're not ready. Yeah. I'm okay with it, and I'm okay with you being how you are, but I also got to protect my energy. Yeah. So sometimes when you guys be like, hey, I'm going to put you guys in groups, I'll be like, you know, it's because I'm so in tune with my energy, and I feel it so much.
Yeah. And I think that's what has brought me to be a training manager, is that I want to be in that energy. Like, if it's negative, like, let's talk about it. Like, let's get to where is it coming from? Why are we feeling that way? And doing something about it. I think that's where the idea about different identities come into play, because as the oldest son, as son of immigrants, as having 2 younger sisters, I am a problem solver. I am a natural problem solver. And I don't know if I need to talk to my therapist about this, but I'm always looking to solve problems. And that's something that I feel that I'm really good at. So when I hear a problem from someone that I'm training, when I hear a challenge, I hear a struggle, I want to talk about it. Like, let's get into it. Like, there is steps that we can take. We just got to find them together. Right.
And so that used to be me. But I'm going to tell you, that gets you in trouble, because it used to be me. Like I was telling you yesterday, how I grew up, and I had to fend on my own. Like, I didn't have a mom or dad. Right. And mind you, I'm the youngest of 7 kids. I'm the baby. You would have thought that I had all this support from my older brothers and sisters, but they was never around. So I literally had to go out and explore and teach myself how to be a man, how to deal with relationships, how to find a job, how to do all this stuff. And that's why I've always had a mentor at a young age, because I finally found somebody that took me out the neighborhood and took me to Hollywood and gave me my shot in entertainment. And he's been a mentor to this day. But I've always had to learn how to do things on my own. And so when I got older, I became like, okay, cool, I'm a good problem solver, because I am. Like, I'm 53 years old, and to be real honest with you, and I've talked about this on my show a couple of times, I'm not supposed to be here. Right. I should have died a long time ago, multiple times. But I've always figured out how to put myself in good situations and not bad situations. So I do feel like I'm a good problem solver. Even at, PIU, when I was at PIU, when I'm on a team, one, I don't never like to be the smartest person in the room. Like, I hate that. But if I am, then okay, I'm going to help them. And those are the situations where I'm like you, like, I can feel your energy. Let's talk about it. Yeah. And I've had these conversations with you where I pulled team members aside and had these conversations, like, hey, what's wrong? Yep. But when I'm in a team setting like the training, I'm not going to do that, because I know you're the lead in that. So I'm not going to.
Yeah, and I honestly, that's a great point too, though, because I've come to a point in my life where it becomes draining too.
It does.
It's tiring being that person that's always looking out for people, always trying to be self-aware, always trying to include everybody. It does get tiring, and it does get draining. And there was a point in my life where I was kind of fighting it. I was like, I don't want to be this person anymore. I want to focus on myself. I want to take care of my things, and taking care of other people I saw it as a burden. Truthfully, I saw it as a burden.
It is. I lost a relationship because of that. And people was telling me, like, to stop. Like, my second wife, literally, I'm going to talk about it, because my divorce just got final last month, so I can talk about it.
There you go.
I went through a 2-year divorce.
2 years?
Yeah. Yeah, we was in court for 2 years.
Wow.
But it finally got settled back in November. So now I can, like, fully talk about it. But for her family members told me not to marry her. But I was that guy where I knew how she grew up. I was trying to fix her.
Oh, yeah.
I was trying to fix her, show her this amazing life she never had, show her this love she never had. I was that guy, and I'm still that guy, because I love helping people, because I never had stuff. So now I'm trying to show people, like, hey, there's a different path. Like, you don't have to go through these struggles that I went through. I know it's kind of cliches, but it's the truth. Like, I've been through a lot in all my years, but at the same time, I'm very successful. If you look at my resume, if you look at all the stuff that I've been through and that I've accomplished, that where I shouldn't have been here, you'd be like, wow. So that's why I'm trying to get back. I left the entertainment industry and told my executive, hey, I don't want to do this no more. I want to give back. I'm at a point in my life where I've accomplished everything I wanted to. I've had my name in TV credits. I had my billboards up there. I've had all this stuff. I literally had a checklist, a bucket list of I've done everything. Yeah. So now, and I feel like just as an adult, like, we should turn around and help the next generation up. Yeah. I feel like that's a responsibility that a lot of us don't do, but I feel like we should. Right. So that's why I do the things I do now. That's why I do the show. That's why I love being at a label right now, because I am helping the next generation. Yeah. But being that problem solver, it can drain you. Yeah. Like I said, my second wife, it took me 3 years to finally say, you know what? I don't want to do this no more. Yeah. It burnt me out.
Wow, man. Yeah. And that's something that I learned, was that sometimes for me, I just need to stop talking. Sometimes I don't need to be a problem solver. Sometimes I just got to listen. Because what that does, for example, you said that you were with that person and you were trying to show them all the good things in life. You were trying to show them that not everything is bad. Right. Look at this, like, we can do things differently. What I learned is that when we try to fix people, and I talked about this in the training this week, it's like we remove their power. We remove their ability to care for themselves. And diving a little bit into the restorative practices in the social discipline window, that's when we're starting to do things for them. We're not giving them the opportunity to take those steps, to do the work, and to grow. Right. But it comes from a genuine place of care. It does. So which is what sucks. But at the end of the day, it doesn't benefit them. It hurts them more than anything.
Right, and that's something that I learned in my positive psychology course, is to ask permission. So now I always ask people, hey, would you like to talk? If they say no, cool. I'll just sit right here until you're ready. Like you said, sometimes it's just the presence. Yeah. You don't always have to talk. Sometimes people just, because I'm like that. When I was going through my meltdown 7 months ago and I lost everything, I literally had a good friend of mine come over to my house, and I really didn't want to. I told her not to come over, but she came over anyways. Mm-hmm. She literally sat on the edge of my bed, and she was like, "You don't have to say nothing, but I'm going to sit at the edge of the bed until you're ready to talk." She sat there for 5 hours before I said a word.
Wow. 5 hours.
5 hours before I said a word. Wow. She's an amazing person. And that's sometimes that's what you need. And honestly, at the moment, that's what I needed. Because by me already going through my positive psychology, like all of the other people that was telling me stuff, it's like I knew it. It's not what I was trying to hear. I didn't want to hear none of that. Oh, Mike, everything's going to be okay. Everything happens for a reason. Mm. I didn't want to hear all the generic stuff that people tell you. And not to minimize what people were doing, because, like I said, it comes from a place of care. I appreciated it and loved it, but for me to get out of that space, I was looking for something different.
Yeah, and you know what? Also, what that does is it soothes the individual. Like, it doesn't soothe the person that's going through it.
Right.
I can see your discomfort and it's making me uncomfortable, so now I'm going to come up to you and say, hey, it's going to be okay.
Right.
Awesome, I feel better. I helped them. Like,
right.
We're good. But it doesn't really do anything for the person.
Yeah.
So that's something that I realized too, is like when I'm approaching someone that's going through something, the actions that I'm taking, is it benefiting them, or am I doing it to soothe my own discomfort from their discomfort?
Yeah.
So that's something important too to recognize.
So, and so one of the things, so I want to ask you a question.
Yeah.
How do you grow? And I'm going to do you like you do us in training. I'm looking for a specific word. How do you grow?
How do you grow?
No, you specifically. How do you grow?
Oh, me. How do I grow?
How do you grow?
Me as a person.
Yes.
How do I grow? I grow by, man, there's only one answer?
Well, I'm looking for a specific,
You're looking for a specific
word because I can get deep sometimes.
All right. How do I grow? Man, I grow by, for sure, by asking questions. By asking questions, by failing. I like to say failing upwards, where you fail, but you learn from it, so you go up. But yeah, did I answer it? No. What do you got? What you got for me? Let me take that.
I grow by listening.
Yeah.
Listening, if you really think about it, listening,
right?
Listening to people that's giving you advice. When you're reading a book, you're actually listening to the author, what he wrote. If you're listening to motivational speakers, listening to videos, it's always listening is such an important part of communication and growth. Like that favorite quote I have, when people speak, and this is a Buddha quote, when you speak, you're only speaking what you already know. But when you listen, you learn something. Wow. Right? So listening for me, that's why back in the day, I was never a great listener. I'm a great listener now. I listen to people. Mm-hmm. I really do. And that's how I grow, by listening. Whether it's reading a book, watching some video, or listening to somebody, I'm listening.
Yeah. And I agree. Now that you mention it, I learned to love to listen. Like I love listening now, because that's when I learn. That's when I grow. That's when I hear stuff that I don't experience. I hear stuff that I might not have seen the first go around. So.
And you know what? And it's from anybody. Like, I listen to the students at our school.
Right.
You can learn from kids.
Yeah.
Listen to them.
Yeah, and that's what a lot of adults don't realize, is that you can learn from the kids. And a lot of adults in positions of authority, they feel that they know best. And you know what? We've been trained to learn that. We've been trained to think that. But also, listen to the kids. Listen to what they have to say. They're not doing things just to do things.
No, kids are smart. I mean, I don't know about you, but when I was younger, and this is a stigma that I'm really trying to break, and why I say I want to do more things with kids and give them that voice, is because when I was younger, we was always taught not to speak until you were spoken to, but we was never spoken to.
So you're never speaking.
So we're never speaking. Right. So it's like you never gave, back then, we was never given the choice to use our voices.
Right.
So now as adults, think about it, all the adults that's in my generation don't speak and use their voices because that's how they was taught.
Right. We're a product of our environment, and we were talking about ACEs in one of our trainings, adverse childhood experiences. which is a belief that traumatic or intense situations that happen to you between the ages of 0 to 17 have a long-lasting effect on how you are as an adult and how you operate and your behavior and your fears and all that good stuff. So yeah, that's definitely it.
It is. So I mean, that's one of the way I grow, and that's why I want to, you know, break that stigma.
Right.
That's why I love working with kids. But for a label, I want to talk a little bit more about a label and what we do. Quick story, real quick, about a label.
Yeah.
Remember I was telling you yesterday, I've never really had a 9-to-5 job. The last, I want to say, 4 or 5 years, by me being retired and kind of doing my own business. And I've always had my own business, but just like really diving into the mental health space business-wise, because I've been doing this for 4 or 5 years now.
Right.
Every year I go through this phase where I say, you know what? I'm tired of this. I just want to get a regular job. Like, I'm tired of the politics. I don't want to do this no more. So every year I get my resume together, and for maybe about 2 weeks, I send out my resume and I look for a job. But then I get like feedback from employers or businesses, you know, you're overqualified, or they want to bring my pay way down.
Wow.
And I'm like, I make more than that now. Like, why would I leave this to do that? Like, it didn't make sense, right? So I either got one of the two: either pay decrease, which was super low. Like, one person wanted, and I'm not even lying, dude. One person wanted to pay me, and this was last year, $12 an hour, and that's not even minimum wage.
Wow.
$12 an hour to do some graphic work, because I'm a graphic designer. No, that's my background.
$12 for graphic work.
Yeah, and I wanted to help this lady because she had a small business. She wasn't making a lot of money. Right. She was super sweet, super nice, but I was like, I can't do that for $12 an hour. Yeah. I'm sorry. But I was getting things like that, you know, or saying, oh, no, you're over too qualified, you know, because of my age. And you know, the people that were interviewing me was kind of young. They figured, like, oh, he's going to come in here and take my job. I got that from one girl one time.
I will say, I hope you take my job, man. I hope. I'm trying to train everybody up to be there.
But so the funny story is, so this year when I was going through Indeed, doing it again this year, and I saw the label thing, right? And I was like, and I've been trying to get into schools for the last 2 years. Like through the chamber, through anybody. Like I always wanted to get in school, because before a label, I've actually spoken to different youth groups. But I've always wanted to go into the schools and do, you know, speaking, because I do a little bit of motivational speaking. And I've always wanted to get in there, but it was just so much red tape to get into the schools. Right. So when I saw a label, I was like, oh, wow. So I just sent the thing, right, my resume. And funny story is, I think 2 months it went by. And I was just like, oh, whatever. And I forgot the young girl's name, but one of the girls at San Diego, it's one of the girl that does the calls first. Forgot her name.
Kylie, maybe?
No, it wasn't Kylie.
Shout out to Kylie.
Maybe it was Kylie. Maybe it was Kylie. Maybe it was you, Kylie. I forgot. I'm bad with names. Everybody know I'm bad with names, so I apologize. Maybe it was Kylie. But she had, I can't remember if she texted me or called me. And she reached out and she was like, hey, I was wondering if you know, want to set up an interview, if you was still interested. And I was like, yeah. So she's like, okay, cool. I'm going to send you a schedule and just let me know your time and dates that you can do this phone interview. So I was like, okay, cool. So we got out. I think it was a phone call. So we got off the phone, and I waited like, I want to say a day and a half, and I never got the email. She said she's going to send me an email with a link where I can select the date. So I never got the email. So I called her back, and I said, hey, I didn't get your email. And she was like, oh. She was like, well, I sent it. And I was like, I never got it. And she was like, that's funny, because I sent you an email 2 months ago, too. And I was like, so I started going through my junk mail. Wow. I found her email 2 months prior.
In the junk?
Yes. She reached out 2 months prior. And I was like, whoa. And I didn't tell her this, but just in my mind, I'm like, and this is what I try to tell a lot of people, especially starting off in business. Follow through is one of the most important things in business. If you have a dope follow-up game, you're going to make it. Yeah. Most people don't follow up and follow through. Mm-hmm. If she wouldn't have followed through, I wouldn't be at a label right now, because that thing would still be in my junk mail. Wow. But she reached back out, followed up with me like, hey, was you interested? That's the only reason why I'm here.
Hey.
when I saw
happy.
that in the junk mail, I was like, oh, wow, I could have really passed this up. Like, it was in my junk. I'm glad she followed up.
2 months, too.
Yeah, I was like, I'm glad she followed up.
Wow, shout out to her.
Yeah, because I was like,
we wouldn't even be sitting here if it wasn't for her. I need to find out who that was then. That was
I need to too.
Kylie, maybe Maddie.
Maddie.
It
was Maddie.
Oh,
it was
wow.
Maddie followed up.
Shout out to Maddie.
Yeah, because I was happy she did.
Yeah, you know what? I'm involved in a lot of like the Alevo meetings. I'm so lucky that they involve me in like the executive meetings as well. I meet so many amazing people in Alevo, and I don't know how Alevo keeps doing that, but they keep finding great people, including our student mentors here in Lancaster, Mike being one of them. Truthfully, I don't know how we keep getting so lucky. But yeah, super happy to be working with so many amazing people.
So kind of give us a brief, like, 'cause I know we touched on it a little bit, but brief introduction of what a label is. And I know you mentioned that there used to be learning.
Sports for learning.
But now we're in a whole different realm.
Yeah.
Whole different space.
Yeah. So Alevo it's a company that works with school districts across California in different capacities. Essentially what Alevo does is they go to a school district and they say, what do you need? Like, we got you. Just because of the vast variety that they offer. They offer a lunch, lunch recess. They offer lunch recess support, not just with the student mentor program, because I will say student mentor program here in Lancaster is way different than what we do across the company. And this is the only type of program of its type. It's one of one. It's a pilot program, one of one here in Lancaster. But everything else, they do student recess support. They do teacher release programs, which is when we go into their schools. The teachers bring out their kids, and we run an hour lesson plan outside PE with the students, while the teachers go in with the principal. They do whatever kind of professional development. They do their lesson plan organization. But essentially, we give an hour back to the teachers. And that's another type of program that we do across California. We also do after school programs. We do intercession. So it's a lot of different things. But we, as a company, focus on SEL, social emotional learning. They focus on supporting the student, not just in the school, but making sure that they build the skills in the school in order to be happy and have a positive well-being outside. So that's pretty much what the mission statement is making sure that the students look forward to coming to school and providing them the skills to have a positive well-being.
Yeah, and that's what I love about it, because they didn't have this when I was in school.
Same.
Man, I would have loved this if I would have had a mentor back in school that kept me in school.
Right.
I would have loved that.
Yeah, and let me talk a little bit about the Lancaster program that we have here.
Absolutely.
Like I said, it's way different than anything else Alevo does. That's a little bit of what Alevo does across the state. But what we are doing here in the student mentor program in Lancaster, again, it's a pilot. We are working with the school district to get mentors inside of the schools. And the goal for this role is to supplement what a lot of the staff is already trying to do inside of the schools. The principal, the teachers, the safety aides, they're trying to work with the students and make sure that they're guided in the correct direction. However, they have other expectations. The principal has to run a whole school. The teachers have a lesson plan that they have to run. The safety aides have to make sure that the students are safe and they're getting to where they have to be. And everybody has these responsibilities that building relationships and building those connections always comes second. It always comes third. It always comes however. But now we're introducing these role models with this position, this role. That's their main focus, building those connections, building that trust, having those conversations with the students and asking them those questions of what's going on, what happened, rather than why are you doing this?
Right.
You're always doing this. I need you to get in class. You need to do your homework. Like it's not just all of these positions that I mentioned, that the teachers, the safety aides, they have those responsibilities hanging over their head at all times. And sometimes that's why we get frustration present because the students are cooperating, but the students are not cooperating because they don't have the facilities. They don't have the mental stability in the moment. They might be dysregulated. They're not able to cooperate with the safety aides. They're not able to cooperate with the principals because they physically, mentally cannot in the moment. So that's where we enter. That's where we go. That's our aim, is for us to be that buffer.
Right.
We're trying to be that support for our students, and Yeah, that's a little bit about what we're doing here. We're doing that through restorative practices. We're doing that through universal supports, tier 2, targeted supports. If you're familiar with the MTSS of California, the multi-tiered system of supports, Alevo has its own version of that. Tier 1 being universal, tier 2 being targeted supports. And then we sprinkled a little restorative practices. That is a huge understatement. We didn't sprinkle restorative practices. We drenched it in restorative practices.
I think we just did 3 days of that.
We literally did 3 days of restorative. Not 6 if you count the first week of training.
Well, that's true, and I love that, because even with this new program, me myself being a student mentor and being in the school the last, 6-7 weeks? That's crazy.
It's only been like 5 weeks.
5 weeks. Okay, but you know what? It felt like 6 months. I promise you. When we talked about that the other day, I was like, it really felt like we was in there for 6 months.
Dude,
that's like, how crazy it was.
I got my gray hair coming in my beard now. It's a long time.
It felt like a long time, but it was great. I mean, I know we had our moments, and that's expected with any pilot, anything. Yeah. Right? Yeah. So that's expected. And that's why, for the most part, I was more of an observer, because I really wanted to say or see, okay, what's working, what's not working. Like that was one of my primary goals, going to the school every day. I really wanted to say, okay, this is not working, this is working. Because, like I said yesterday, whenever I get into something, like, I'm all in. Like, I love it, Label. I love the staff there. I love all you guys, because you guys show that passion. Even on our first training, when the people came up from San Diego, and, like Logan. Sorry, Logan.
Shout out to Logan.
I'm bad at names. Everybody know this. But yeah, and everybody else that came, everybody is so amazing, and you can just see the passion for everybody that wants to really help. And when you get into these schools, you can see that it's needed. And it's no minimizing the principal or the staff there, because they're there every day dealing with this, and they don't have the luxury to get brain breaks like us.
Exactly. And that's the word, luxury. They're on a time crunch. They got expectations. They can't.
They're going from one chaos to another. And like we were talking about energy, they carry that energy into the next thing, and you can get burnt out super fast. So for us to come in there and provide some type of relief, I think it's good for the students and the staff.
Yeah, that's exactly it. We're there to support everybody, because our goal is to support the students, support the teachers, support the staff in what they can't focus on. Right. And that takes a lot of collaboration. So I'm very grateful for all of the schools that have been welcoming us into their space, because it is their space. And we understand that we're the new kids on the block. Yeah.
But we're visitors.
Right.
That's their home.
We're guests.
We're guests.
Yeah.
That's their home.
Yeah. So I'm very grateful for all of the collaboration that we've had thus far. All of the principals have been very communicative. And yeah, I'm happy that we get so much feedback. And like you said, pilots, it's natural to have those speed bumps.
Yeah. I mean, it's natural. Everybody knows it.
And that's how we grow.
That's how we grow.
That's the mentality that we have, is we want that feedback from y'all, because y'all are the ones that are there every single day. Yeah. We want the feedback from the principals. We want the feedback from the teachers and from the students. And so far, it's been a lot of positive feedback.
And like how we always talk about, it's okay to make mistakes. Yeah. We're going to make mistakes, because it's a pilot program. Yeah. Like, even though we're all, I think, individualized, have special skills, but working together and trying to bring all this together, we're going to make mistakes. Yeah. And that's just natural. But I look at intent. Right. Like, what's the intentions of this? Yeah. Right. And our intentions are very good. And everybody, even with the staff, like I said, I'm not minimizing them. I see their heart. I see their passion, or they wouldn't be there. Mm-hmm. I mean, I give shout outs to teachers. Like, it is hard to be a teacher day in and day out. Especially out here in this environment, it's crazy. So I tip my hat to them. Yeah. And that's why I want to help, not only the students, but I want to help them too. Yeah. Because everybody's well-being is important.
Yeah, and I think going back to being guests, I think that something that we can acknowledge, at least me personally, is we want to communicate a lot more with them of what we're here to do. Right. Restorative practices and mentorship. The idea of organized mentorship may be new to a lot of adults that weren't raised that way. Like you said, it's different generations. So I want to make sure that we communicate more with the community. We want to be more involved in the community, just for that transparency and that clarity.
Right. So right now I want to jump into the two things that we both kind of been studying and focusing on. Restorative practices and positive psychology. Mine is actually applied positive psychology, but it's positive psychology. So while both restorative practices and mind you, I'm going to be reading this because I just did my homework on this because I want to know the difference. So I'm kind of going to be reading a lot of stuff. But while both restorative practices and positive psychology aim to promote positive well-being, the key differences lies in their focus. And correct me where I'm wrong in restorative practices, or if you see something that I wrote that was like off-base. Restorative practices primarily concentrates on repairing harm and rebuilding relationships through dialogue and accountability when conflicts occurs, while positive psychology focuses on actively cultivating positive emotions, strengths, and virtues within individual to enhance overall happiness and flourishing in life. So those are the main key focuses, I believe.
Right. Can you read the positive psychology one more time? I was thinking about the restorative practices.
Positive psychology focuses on actively cultivating positive emotions, strengths, and virtues within individuals to enhance overall happiness and flourishing in life.
Right. Okay.
So positive psychology is a science. It's a scientific study of optimal functioning, the strengths that enables individuals and communities to thrive. It's really mainly focused on well-being. It's like, and this is something that I wrote because I had to write something in my positive psychology class, like what well-being is to me. Well, well-being to me is the heart and soul of positive psychology. It gives us the tools to thrive and function effectively through our daily ups and downs in the life so that we can feel good and struggle well. And that's pretty much what positive psychology focuses on, the well-being. Like, can you struggle well? Because we all know life is like a graph. We're going to have up and downs. We're going to have good days. We're going to have bad days. But can you struggle well through that?
Wow. Yeah. Are you familiar with SEL, social emotional learning? Would you say that it ties into positive psychology?
Oh, yeah. So positive psychology focuses on 6 different pillars. So back in 1999, the president of the American Psychology Association, Martin Seligman, he fathered the thing positive. He's the father of positive psychology.
Right.
His thing was, he suggested that as a field of psychology, it was half-baked. He said we focus so much on what's wrong with people and not enough to what's right, what's going well. That's why I always write what's going well. Something that I learned in my positive psychology thing that they always taught us is, and every day, I don't do it often, but most days at the end of the day, I always ask myself, okay, what went well today? Especially if I'm having a bad day. I always ask myself, okay, I'm having a bad day, but what went well? I can ask you that same thing. I can ask anybody that. And it's really about putting things in perspective. Even if you're having a bad day and nothing went right for you, right? You can always say, okay, but what went well? Let's go to this. You woke up today. You slept in the bed last night, didn't you? Did you eat today? It's like having the real smallest, simplest things.
It's mindfulness.
Mindfulness.
Yeah, I've heard you talk about that.
Yeah, and that's why I always talk about just be mindful.
Right, yeah.
Right? So, again, positive psychology is built on 6 different pillars. Positive emotions, engagement, relationship, meaning, accomplishment, and health, which is called PERMAH. So the PERMAH model is positive psychology.
PERMAH.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, it sounds like SEL, and SEL is something that we do in a label. So I'm kind of familiar with that. But yeah, I can see how it's different to restorative practices, because restorative practices, if you were to summarize positive psychology in 1-2 words, what would you say?
Summarize it in 1 or 2 words.
Yeah,
like taking care of your well-being.
It
really is about well-being.
So the well-being.
For the well-being, yeah.
If I were to summarize restorative practices in 1 2 words. You use like 5, so I'm gonna go with the same. I'm gonna go with the same scale. I'd say collaborative and relentless growth. It's like growth regardless of what happens. And collaborative is super important as well, because restorative practices, you can practice it alone, but it's most effectively used from a mentor, from a group,
right,
from a partner, with people.
right.
So that's how I'd summarize restorative practices: is relentless and continuous collaborative growth. Relentless and collaborative growth.
And positive psychology, I think it is focused more on individual well-being, right? Even though they have a bunch of tools where you use with different people, like active listening is, and I forgot the acronym for that. I have to look it up. Like this course that I took was 9 months. It was a 9 month course. It wasn't like a overnight online course. It was a 9 month course that I got from Palmdale that they gave one time. So it was 9 months of what I call therapy on steroids, because they really broke you down, but they built you back up.
Wow,
that's the one thing I loved about it. They broke you down and then built you back up. So when they went through all 6 pillars, like every month we went through a different pillar, because it was just, it's so much. Like I got a book like this thick, like you know how you guys gave us a book with information, ours with possibly like this, but I read it constantly. And it wasn't meant for us to know it from front to back. It's for us to take in life and like continue to grow and learn with it. Like, because it's so many tools in there, like building tiny habits, anchoring tiny habits to something that you already do, to again your prefrontal, your habit loops. They talk about that a lot. Okay, so how can you create positive habits? By creating small, tiny habits, but anchoring it to something else that you already do.
Right, and I think that's why you and our mission here kind of like sync so well, because that's essentially what we're trying to do as well. At Alevo as a whole, is support the students with habits, support the students with specific skills that they can build and nurture, so that they're not only okay in school, but they're also okay throughout their day, throughout their life, when they don't have the support of us. That's awesome, because it focuses on the well-being.
No, it does.
Long term.
And one thing I love about this too, when they took this model to Google, believe it or not, where is it? They took this model to Google, and Google did a study. And I thought I wrote that down somewhere. Google did a study, and they said they had a bunch of teams, and the teams that they practiced this PERMAH model with was more successful because of the team building within the PERMAH model. Like, for instance, how do you care for your well-being? This is your well-being, right? So they also have care being for your team as well. So they have this one. How are you caring for your team's well-being? So you see the 6 different pillars, and these are the things that you can do to care for your team well-being. So these are all, like, we went through all this stuff. Like I said, it was 9 months of this, just this every day.
Wow.
Like, it's crazy. And it's a lot.
Which one was the most memorable, that pillar?
For me, it was meaning, because of my backstory. I kind of touched on it yesterday when we was in our meeting with everybody about my mother, right? So my mother was, and I've told this story multiple times on the show, but for the new listeners, my mother tried to murder me at a young age, and I never knew why. I got different stories of why. Like, my dad told me a story, but then my other siblings told me different stories. They're both gone, because my father murdered her because he said she was trying to murder me. So she was gone at a young age. He died, and he literally went to the grave with a bunch of secrets. So to this day, I still don't know why, but that haunted me throughout my life, because I was always in the back of my mind, what did I do so bad that my mother wanted to kill me as a child? Like, I didn't do my homework. I didn't take out the trash. I messed up in school.
Do you mind if I ask how old you were?
I was 5 months.
5 months.
I was 5 months. So at 5 months, well, I was crying too much? I don't know. But in the back of my mind, as I grew up, I always wondered, like, what did I do? Right. So now, honestly, I have abandonment issues. When I lose a friendship or when I lose a relationship, because I never do anybody dirty. I try to be the best person I can be. You can ask anybody that know me, and you guys know me. Like, I don't do nobody dirty. I don't treat people wrong. I treat people with good respect, because how I was raised and how I grew up. Yeah. But even with that, it's still in the back of my mind, like, what?
Not to interrupt, but I've gone through not the similar experience, but the similar process. I also have abandonment issues, and I've realized, and I also have that mentality as well of I'm great to everybody. I'm very kind. I'm caring. I'm self-aware. I make sure that everybody's okay when they're around me. I want them to feel safe. I realized recently, and this might not be applicable to you, but I realized that is a survival instinct. Like, to some extent, I wanted to be liked. I wanted to make sure that I was liked, because if I'm the nicest person I can be, then they have no reason to leave me.
Right.
There was some things that I went through in my personal life, maybe in 2023, that led me to start therapy. And that's when I realized that. That's when I realized that it was a survival instinct, and it was a trauma response. It was me, my personality, the majority of me wanting to be a people pleaser. It was a reaction to my abandonment issues. I didn't want them to leave me. So if I'm the best person I can be, there's no reason for them to, right?
Right. So I did too. So again, how on my second wife, I was trying to give her everything, because in my mind, I'm trying to do everything I can for you to love me, to like me. And I think in some ways I still do that. Like, I'm constantly always doing things for people, because I want people to genuinely like me, but just out of habit, I'm always doing things for people. And so for me, it was meaning, and I still do. Like, I've come to terms that I'm never going to find an answer, because one, mom's gone, dad's gone. My brother and sister, they all have different stories, so I don't know which one is true. Right. I'm always going to have that in the back of my mind. Like, I just broke up with another relationship, and I'm like, damn, what did I do? Like, what did I do for you to not want to be with me? Like, that affects me.
And I don't want to turn this into a therapy session, but I'm just telling you what has helped me grow in that respect is shifting the vision, shifting the scope from ourselves to them. Like, we can't control what people do.
Right.
They're going to do what they want to do based off of their own experiences. And if this is something that I realized for myself, if they decide to leave, then that has nothing to do with you.
Right.
That has a lot more to do with them and how they feel and their own trauma and their own insecurities, not so much us. So when we shift that, not even blame, but when we shift that attention away from us and understand that, again, this was part of our training too, don't take behavior personally.
Right.
Behavior isn't personal. Behavior can be a trauma response. It could be our brain is always trying to protect us.
Oh, trust me. That's where now we're going to talk about neuroscience, is like the habit loops, right? Like, whenever like Mel Gibson talks about this. I don't know if you know who Mel Gibson is. She's a motivational speaker.
Right.
She talks about this. Whenever you hesitate, that's your brain saying, hey, we're not used to that. What are you doing? Because in your habit loops, you don't do that. So whenever you try something new or try something different, your brain, and you hesitate, and you get that slight hesitation, your brain is like, whoa, what are you doing? It stops you because it's trying to protect you, because it's not used to that, right? But just going back from what you were saying, like, I know that, right? I don't take things personal. I really don't. And I've learned not to take things personal. Even like I said, with this last breakup, I know it wasn't me. 100% I know it wasn't me. But something that I learned, like I have a friend that comes on the show quite often, and she has her name is Jackie. She has a foundation out here called Suicide Prevention because her son committed suicide. We've had many conversations about this. When you have trauma like that, like a death, a suicide, a murder, it never goes away. And I know most of us want it to go away, but it just doesn't. So for me, my trauma is so deep and it's been so long. Yeah, I can switch the focus, and I know the tools to get me out of it. But at the same time, I still have that feeling of abandonment, and I still question it. Yeah. Even though I know how to regulate it, you still have that. Like, it's never going to go nowhere.
It's ingrained
in your
DNA.
It is.
Almost. Yeah.
It really is. And it's unfortunate, but you learn to deal with it. You learn to struggle well with it. Yeah. Like, I can get through it, even though, I might feel sad one day. One day I might have a thought, and I might be sad today. But I know tomorrow's going to be better. I know if I'm blessed to wake up tomorrow, it's going to be a better day. I know pain is temporary. Actually, everything in life is temporary. Nothing lasts forever. Pain don't last forever. Happiness don't last forever. That's why it's a constant up and down. But again, going back to well-being, can you struggle well? Can you thrive through it? Yes. I know I'm going to be okay. I know that. But I still think about it. It's still there. It's still something that happened that I can't take back. I can't erase. It's my reality. And I'm okay with it, because it's made me who the person I am. Unfortunately, I had to go through those adversities, but I am okay with it because it made me who I am. It made me the person that wants to love, that wants to care, that wants to help, that wants to do this so somebody else can hear what I'm saying. And this is one of the reasons why I love doing this show, because it is authentic. These are real stories. These are real feelings. People know, like, when I talk on here, I'm giving you 1,000% the truth. It's not some made-up script back in where I was doing TV where I had a script and a made-up stories. Like, this is real, and I want people to feel that and let them know that it's going to be okay. Everything will be okay.
I think that's a reflection of the work that you've done with yourself. It's so hard to get to that point. I feel like I'm still working to get there, where you're just so confident and comfortable with yourself, your flaws, your strengths, all of that good stuff. I feel like there's a lot of work that has to happen to get to that point. And thank you for sharing them. And I admire you a lot for your not even brutal honest, but just your honesty in general. Like, I'm trying to get there. So thank you.
No, and it is a lot of work. And when I tell you I'm not all the way there, I still go through it. I do. But I understand this is a journey. I understand that it's not a destination where I'm going to get somewhere and everything's magically going to be okay one day, because it's not. Unfortunately, it's not. Like, but I do struggle well. I do still thrive. I have my great days, and I love my great days, and I know I'm going to have more great days.
Yeah, and there's so many people in my life and people that I've talked to that are afraid of the negative, afraid of the bad days, afraid of the sadness, afraid of the anger, and they avoid it completely. They don't want to deal with it. And that always, it makes me feel so confused. Like, why? We need that. That's going to help us too. Yeah.
And that's why I say I'm always brutally honest. Like, even with, some of the kids, and this is why I want to work with these kids. And I know, it's a process that I have to build with them to get them to trust me. But a couple of kids, I've had conversations with, and I told them, like, look, if you're honest with me, I'm gonna always be honest with you. I'm not gonna sugarcoat, and I'm one to I don't like to sugarcoat nothing. I'm not trying to give anyone a false sense of this pretend world that
everything's okay.
We always, that we all picture in our head. Like, we have this. I remember Jada Smith said this one day that, we paint this picture of what life is supposed to be, and then we get so disappointed when it doesn't turn out right. So I always tell people we have to accept life for what it is, not what we want it to be. Just like we have to accept people for who they are, not who we want them to be.
Yeah, that part.
Like, for real. Like, we're always painting these pictures of what we want things to be, and it's not that. Then we get so disappointed because our expectations are so high.
Right.
It's like, no, like, we got to bring it down. So that's why I always tell people, look, I don't sugarcoat nothing. If you're honest with me, I'm going to be honest with you.
And as a student, as a child, I feel like it's rare hearing that now.
It is.
It's they don't get that heart to heart. They don't get that eye to eye, and not physically, but emotionally.
Right. And I feel like some kids, because I grew up in neighborhoods like out here, like I grew up in the hood, I grew up in Inglewood, so I know how it is out here. Yeah. So for me, I'm gonna be honest with these kids. Like, yeah, it's gonna be hard getting out. Your path, the way you're going right now, it's gonna be hard, but you can do it. You can do it. If I can get out and I can survive and be successful, you can do it.
Yeah, and that's because they have you now.
Right.
They have those adults that are aware of that, and they
Right.
have those adults that are present and they want to help.
Right.
We didn't have those people growing up.
Exactly. We did.
When I was in my middle school getting my chain snatched, getting my bike snatched, I didn't have an adult that would ask me if I was okay. I didn't have an adult that would ask me, are you okay getting home? Are you safe? I didn't. And that's something that pushes me too, actually, is that I want to be that adult.
Yeah.
We want to be those. We know we don't have an exact idea of what these kids are going through, but we know that it's tough. We know that they might be going through some tough things. So, yeah, that's something also that motivates.
And that's why, like I said, earlier, that I'm really big on team huddles. What I was talking about in our training and in our meeting is because sometimes I'll be in these schools and, again, we feel energy. And when something happens, when a kid is fighting or he's just yelling at the teacher for whatever reason, like, I'm not looking at him being he's being disruptive, but I'm also looking at that pain he's feeling or he or she is feeling. And I can so relate to that. Mm-hmm. And that hurts me. Yeah. Like, I'm going to get emotional right now because that shit really hurts me, seeing a kid that's struggling, but they're acting out because of that underlying problem that no one's addressing.
Yeah.
Like, we have to be that support for them that wasn't there for us.
Man, it's behaviorism. It's acknowledging behavior as a form of communication. And I feel like that's what makes you such a great person to be working with kids.
You weren't supposed to get me to cry today.
I didn't tell you, but it was my goal.
No, I get emotional doing these shows. I'm sorry, but
no, man, it's rightfully so because it's the passion. It's real life. It's the truth. These kids, they act up, like I said, not because they want to, but because they're going through things.
It's one kid, so I can see his pain, even though he tries to act hard every day and tough. I can see right through that. I know why you're doing that. And when you sit down and actually talk to him, he's such a cool kid. And that's all he needs is someone to listen to him and respect him and just to be there for him. And I don't know if he's getting that at home, because I don't know that situation.
Can you imagine going through all of that, arriving at school, acting out, and getting in trouble for that? Like, just getting reprimanded, just...
Right. Like...
Man, I heard a story from one of my mentors recently, and I used it in one of the trainings, is... If a student is falling asleep in the first or second period of the day and you send them to the detention room, what is that going to do for them?
They're just going to go to sleep.
They're going to go to sleep in the detention room. It's not going to do anything for them. And that's the essence of restorative practices, is acknowledging that behavior as a form of communication and giving them that chance to grow. It's separating the deed from the doer too, right? We talked about... Not labeling the student as a student that is a bad student. I don't believe in any bad students, any bad kids.
It's not.
Every time I hear that term in the school setting, it makes my skin crawl a little bit.
But I have a real belief in everybody like that. Like, I don't believe, and I say this a lot too. No one wakes up being an asshole. Like, it comes from somewhere. Like, if someone's having a bad day and they're being an asshole, like, that comes from somewhere. Yeah. You don't know what they went through. You don't know what trauma they're going through. Yeah, I mean, not saying it's right and not condoning what their behavior is, but it's coming from somewhere. Exactly. Like, for instance, school shootings. People are always talking about gun violence or gun control. what about, okay, what made this child, this 13-year-old child that just shot up, what was it, Colorado or something, a few weeks ago?
Oh, in New Orleans?
Was it New Orleans?
Yeah.
It was
Right?
New Orleans?
Yeah.
Yeah, what made this 13-year-old girl bring a gun to school?
Right. The New Orleans was a separate.
Well, that was a bombing military thing. Yeah, but prior to that, there was a school shooting. I think it was last month. I forgot where it was, but I know it was a 13-year-old girl.
13-year-old girl. I haven't heard about this.
It was a 13-year-old girl last month, and she killed 2 teachers and a student.
Wow.
So I get it.
13 years old.
I get part of it is gun control, but guess what? What's the underlying issue here? What made a 13-year-old girl go to school with a gun to kill somebody? It has nothing to do with a gun. Guns don't kill people. Yeah. That's the reality of it. So I hate when people talk about gun control. Right. It's no. What's wrong with this 13-year-old child for her to carry a gun to school?
For her to think of that even and get to that point.
What's going?
Exactly.
This is the problem. Like, she's not a bad kid. What did she just go through? Was she bullied? I don't know what happened because they killed her. So,
wow.
I'm sorry. Let me respect that because I think it was either she turned the gun on herself or I think she turned the gun on herself because they said before law enforcement got in there she was dead. So I think she turned the gun. So it turned into a suicide. Yeah. So why does the girl want to kill herself? What was so wrong with her life? See, that brings back memories for me at a young age. What was wrong with your life that bad that you want to end it? Like, that's the conversations we need to have.
Yeah, the responsibility needs to shift to the adults in her life, the people in her life that work with her every day.
That's what I mean, man. Like, these kids need help. I mean, there is no bad kids, like you said. Like, these kids really need help. We need to really stop pointing the fingers at them. Let them use their voices. Let them talk. We need to really start listening to these kids so we can find out what's really going on. Because a lot of these kids, suicide is high in kids. I forgot the statistics, but those numbers are so high. We're not letting them use their voice, and
they need that outlet. They need that avenue, the channels of communication, just a space for them to be heard. I feel. Yeah. And that's what we're trying to do here in Lancaster. Is we're trying to connect mentors that have that knowledge, that have that passion, like you're expressing, and put them in the space with those students. Put them in the space with those kids that may be going through those tough ideas, those tough thoughts that they shouldn't have to be going through.
They should, because they got their whole lives ahead of them. Yeah, their whole lives ahead of them.
When I was in middle school, I had those thoughts of suicidal ideation. I had those thoughts, and I had no business having those thoughts at 13.
Yeah, you should. No kid should.
No, like reflecting, like if I could talk to my 13-year-old self, I'd give myself a big hug and I'd say, "You're okay. You're going to be okay.
You're going to be all right."
Yeah, and not even just patronizing myself, but like just reassuring them, like, you're okay. Like, I hear you. So, yeah, man, it's tough. But like you said, those experiences that we had growing up is what helps us be those adults for those kids now. Yeah. We wanna support the next generation and make them better than ourselves, make them better than what we have. So that's my mentality and everything that I do out here as a training manager, and that's a mentality that I try to have our mentors have as well, and I feel like they do. A lot of the mentors here that we have, they're on the same page.
I see that, and I appreciate all the mentors, because if they don't have to be there, but they are, because they care and they want to help.
Yeah, and that was one of the questions that we asked in the first week of training. Is you could have been working in another field, you could have been working in the food industry and in the film. What is it that has you here right now in this training, sitting, trying to work with our kids in Lancaster? Right. What is it that has you here? And I do want to say that was one of the main driving forces on who we decided to hire for this role. I feel like that's the main thing that we wanted to look for, is why are they here? What is their purpose? What is your mission? Does it align with what we're trying to do here? Yeah, sure. Education, skills, communication, all of that is great. But what we really wanted to know is like your mission. Like what is it that you're trying to do here?
Right.
And yeah, that's that's so important for us.
Yeah. And I'm so grateful, man. Like, when I was shocked that Maddie called me.
Man, shout out to Maddie.
Shout out to Maddie.
Dude.
But no, she called me even after the video meeting, the online video, virtual meeting. Like at first they was like, I think Dr. Kristen was like, oh yeah, we'll get back to you guys like in a couple of weeks. We're going to make a decision. We got other people we got to talk about, right? Maddie called me an hour later. I was like, oh man, she's going to give some bad news. But she was like, hey, Mike. I was like, hey, what's up? She was like, congratulations. And I was like, are you serious?
Wow.
Like an hour later.
An hour.
I was like, are you serious? She was like, yeah. She's like, we really want you. Congratulations. You made it. Like, I was like, I was speechless. Wow. But I was so happy, though, because I was like, yes. Like, this is something that I've always wanted to do. And I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful for you and Rick, because you guys, like I said earlier, you can see the passion. You guys are always there for us. You answer my calls and texts all the time. So does Rick, man. And that just shows the effort and the passion that you guys put into this company. Shout out to Alevo, because that training, and people always ask me, I was talking to a friend of mine yesterday, and I was like, I'm in training. And she was like, school's not back in. I said, I know, but one thing I love about this company, they got us always in some type of training, whether it's an online 15-minute training at home or something. They keep us fresh and on our toes, and I love that.
Yeah.
They don't just train you 1 week and send you out there and like, okay, go do whatever. Good luck. You know what I mean? Like most companies do that. They say, figure it out. Good luck. But you guys keep us in training, and I love that.
Man, when I first got hired for this role in Lancaster specifically, I was doing all my training. I got certified in restorative practices. I was doing all of this, preparing to be a training manager in this area. And I had like a huge aha moment. And I felt like everything that I've done in the past was just like a waste of time. Not that it really was. It just felt like, whoa, like I was doing things so different. Like, why haven't I been doing this this way before? And that realization was that before we would focus, as a training manager, I would focus so much on the kids. I'd focus so much on what we need from them. They need to listen to the coaches. They need to do their homework. They need to do this. How can we get them to do this? How can we get them to regulate themselves better? Always focusing on the kids. And I had this realization, like, the kids are what we're here trying to support. But my focus as a training manager needs to be on my mentors. It needs to be on the staff that I'm trying to put in front of these kids. I'm trying to have role models. If I do not have the correct model in front of the student, I'm not going to get the effect that I want from them. I'm not going to get the result that I want from the student. Right. So I had this huge realization of I need to invest so much time in these mentors. As a company, we need to invest so much time in these individuals, because they are what's going to make a difference in our kids' lives. Y'all are going to make that difference. I'm supporting you in doing that. I'm not going to be there every day. My job description doesn't make me be on site every day. My job description is training y'all and developing y'all so y'all can support the kids. Right. So that realization is, I feel like, what like really made me realize, like, oh, like Lancaster's different. Like, it's going to be different than the rest of Alevo. So
it is, and I've talked to my small team with Lena and Perry, and we talk about that a lot. We talk about Lancaster different from San Diego. That's just the reality of it. But we believe in the program so much, like we brainstorm all the time. Like whether, even not even to talk about our end of day reports, but we constantly talk to each other. Like they're texting me now. Like we constantly talk to each other. We brainstorm off each other all the time, and that's what I love about them too, because they have so many good ideas. Because like yesterday, it comes from a business aspect too, because it is a business, right? Because there is a business aspect to it. But they both work with kids, and they live out here, so they know the area, they know the community out here, and they're passionate about that, and that's what I love about them.
Yeah, I always love hearing those type of stories from our mentors. How passionate they are about being here, all that's good stuff. I also like hearing all the feedback that y'all have. Like, I love when you said, I don't like to be the smartest person in the room. Like, I feel that. Like, one of my biggest pet peeves is that I'm always getting compliments. I don't know how to take a compliment. That's a different conversation. But just in general, like, I'm always getting that positive reinforcement, and it's okay to get it once in a while. But when that's the only thing you're getting, where's the growth? I want feedback. Tell me what I'm doing wrong. Tell me what I can change. That is what really drives me. Like, I want to be the best version of myself that I can.
I'm the same, man. Everybody will tell you that know me, I don't do well with compliments. I love them, but yeah, I don't do well with compliments. When I get awards, like you can see my words.
Hey, man, this podcast is great, by the way.
Thank you. I appreciate that. But I tell people all the time, like especially like with my soccer, the AYSL, like I tell the director there all the time because every year they give us awards. I'm like, do not bring me up and do not give me an award. I don't do that for this. Like I don't.
You shouldn't have told me that.
Oh no, and don't because I don't. I really don't. I love talking in front of people. I love engaging. You see, I'm in training. I'm always talking. Sometimes I got to tell myself, okay, you know what? I'm gonna let other people talk. I be wanting to answer everything. I'm like, because that's the way I grow. Because even though I want to answer everything, I know most of my answers are going to be wrong or not on point. But I want to hear that from you. Like I love when you tell me, you know, whatever, but you know, let's look at it from this perspective and this way. Like I love that. Like I said, it's feedback for me because that's how I grow. Yeah, exactly. I know I had a girlfriend tell me one time, you ask too many questions. I'm sorry. Like that's how I grow. Like that again, you got to know me. From a kid that's been on his own since he was 14, literally been on my own since I was 14. For me to get knowledge, I ask questions. Like, I want to know, Manny, what was you thinking today when you did that? I'm not asking just to be asking. Like, I really want to know not to be nosy. I want to know your thought process. Yeah. Like, why'd you come up with that? Why did you do that? Like, I want to know your thought process because I learn from people. Yeah. So I ask questions.
Coincidentally, this is a One Life podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was about to say we have one life in this earth. However, we can gain more knowledge by talking to other lives. I can talk to you and gain that knowledge from your life. I can talk to someone else. And that's how we multiply our experiences, I feel. So, yeah, asking questions. Man, whoever told you that, they don't want to grow.
But no, and they don't. But I love that person. I know, like, I'm not gonna say their name, but
shout out to that person. We love you. But
I'm still working on that person.
Yeah, we love you, but let us ask questions.
But no, it is called the One Life Podcast. That's why, because we only have one life, and my objective and goal and mission in One Life is, like, I've had this brand for years. Is I want people to enjoy today, their moments. Because we're not promised tomorrow. That's why I try to do things for people. You know, that's why I try to tell people, like, look, man, let's just be happy. Let's just love, because we're not promised tomorrow. As much as we want to be here tomorrow, as much as I want to go to training tomorrow, I don't know if I'm gonna be there tomorrow.
I hope you are.
I mean, I hope so too. But at the same time, like, I appreciate my moments. Like, I appreciate you coming on here today. I appreciate us having this conversation. These are the moments that I enjoy. Because I don't know how many more moments I got. I remember Marlon Wayans said this a couple of weeks ago during an interview he did. I saw it on Instagram, I think. He's 54. I'm 53. Do you know I have more, I have more time behind me than I have days in front of me. Like if I live till I'm 80, or even 90. I'm 53. I have more days behind me than I do in front of me. So every day to me is fucking important. Don't waste my time. Like, for real, I want to live every day. And that's why I don't argue with people no more. And I think that just comes with age. Like, if you notice, older people don't argue with people because we literally have less days in front of us. Wow. And every day is important. I don't argue with people. If you ever saw me, I don't think I had an argument in 4 years.
What do you do when the argument
walk away.
comes? You just turn around?
I give them an option. I say, you know what? Obviously, today is not the day to talk about this. We can talk about tomorrow when you calm down. But I'm not about to sit there and do this with you. Way too old for this. I said, if you want to have a conversation, we can. But you yelling at me doesn't work for me. So we can have this conversation tomorrow, or if you calm down, we can have a conversation. But the yelling thing, I'm not doing. I promise you. I don't care. You can call me all kind of bitches or asshole. I'm not doing it with you.
You're doing it alone.
You're doing it alone. I'm going to walk away. And I've walked away from people. Like, okay, cool. I'll see you tomorrow. We can try this again tomorrow. I'll walk away in a heartbeat.
Would you say that's the most important thing that you would have wanted to learn when you were younger, or is there something else?
Oh, no.
So I don't know if you know my age. I'm 25.
No, I didn't know that.
So if you were to talk to someone that yourself when you were 25, is that the one piece of advice that you'd give them? Don't argue, don't waste your time. Or what would be the one piece of advice you'd give yourself at 25?
Read.
Read.
Read a book.
Just read a book.
Yeah.
Any book.
No, I mean, obviously not any book, but like a self-help book or something that's going to give you knowledge. Because I never used to like to read when I was younger, especially in my early 20s. I think I was my early 30s when somebody gave me a book and I read it, and it was called Buddha in Your Mirror.
Buddha in Your Mirror?
Yeah. When I read that book, it opened my eyes to just Buddha philosophy. 'Cause I studied Buddha and Zen, Buddha philosophy and energy. And it made me, and actually before that, I used to just listen to audiobooks before that. But when I actually had that book physically in my hand, I was turning the papers, I got so engaged in that book, it made me want to buy another book. And I got books now, like I said, Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. That's my favorite book right now. Because I know we're going over right now, but breaking the habit of being yourself is everything from birth was given to you, right? Your name, your beliefs, the way of life, everything was given to you. You didn't have an option. Everything was given to you, right? So breaking the habit of being yourself is when at birth and everything is given to you, you're part of a we system. You're part of your environment who raised you. They told you who you was. They told you who you was going to be. Until you grow up and get your own way and break away from being yourself to breaking away to being the I system now. Wow, yeah. And to your own identity. That's what the I system is, your own identity. Not the we system of you are your parent, your mom, your dad, your uncle, whoever raised you, the streets, your environment. That's who you are because that's who they told you was. But when we get older and we start getting knowledge, when we start studying things like this, and we break away and we start creating our own identity, that's breaking away from being yourself. That's why that book, I love that book so much, because it's so true.
Yeah, that's a crazy thought because it's so true.
Right, breaking the habit of being yourself. It's like, what do you mean? You want me not to be myself?
Yeah.
No, you're not. Most people aren't. They are who someone told them they are.
The word that comes to mind is manufactured. You have you're a manufactured version of yourself.
Yeah.
It's like a robot. And then as you grow older and you start reading and you start doing all these things that help you just grow out of that, the robot pieces fall out and there's a real person under there. So
that's why I love when people find their own identities. And this is why, like, I have a lot of gay friends, transgender friends. I'm like, if that's your identity, that's who you are. Why are you settling for something somebody told you who you are? If that's not who you want to be, go be who you want to be and be happy. That's why I don't understand the world today. And I don't want to get into that.
I was about to say, don't get me started with that.
No, I know.
They frustrate me.
No, it does.
How you can get mad at someone for being themselves?
Right.
That's crazy.
Let someone be themselves. Who cares?
How does that affect you?
It doesn't affect your life whatsoever. Let that person be whoever they want to be.
It's so silly, really.
It really is dumb. It's dumb
so
shit.
Silly.
And that's why, again, one life. That's my whole one life motto. Be who you are. Be happy. Enjoy life. Enjoy your moments because you only get one. Why are you living for someone else when you don't know if you're going to be here tomorrow? Why are you someone who you don't want to be because you might not be here tomorrow? Be that person today. Fuck everybody else. Yeah. Be that person today. That's my motto.
It's a great one. That's what we got to live.
No, but that's how I am. I didn't mean to go off on a rant right now, but that bothers me.
Hey, I was on that rant with you.
That bothers me. But I'm not. I know we're going over. I said it was only going to be an hour and a half. We went over. We're good. But I do want to thank you for just being you. I really do admire you, Manny. I've learned a lot from you. I'm still learning from you. I hope I can continue to learn from you. I hope I can continue to grow with you with this program, because it is needed. I can see your passion, and I know my passion, and I know Rick's passion, and everybody else in the program. I know their passion, Dr. Henry, everybody that's involved in this. I truly, truly hope that we make a difference. And I know we are, because I can see the difference already. Just from those 5 weeks, I can literally see the difference that we created. Even though, like I said, we had bumps in the roads, but that's okay. Because even if it was a slight difference, we're going to build on that one slight difference and make it so much better.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the goal.
Yeah,
we want a lot of differences.
Yes. So thank you again, man. Appreciate you.
No, thank you for having me. Let me compliment you. You
This is my show. This is my show.
you are one of the most hardworking people that I've met, man. You are very passionate. The way that you receive feedback is insane. Like it just like, not only does it brush off and it doesn't affect you in a negative way, but it does affect you in a positive, because you're growing, you learn from it. And I admire that. It's rare when you can talk to someone and you're not worried about how they're going to take things, and you just come out on top. Because as someone who's genuine myself, I'm always trying to be myself. So when I'm worried about like connecting with people, and then I talk to them, I say something and they take it the wrong way, and it's like, well, like I didn't even mean it that way. But like with you, like I'm not worried about that. I feel like I can talk to you. I can give you that feedback, and you understand that it's coming from a place of care. Like you understand if I tell you at all.
There's no malice. Yeah.
No malice.
Again, it's an intent. I look at intent.
Exactly.
When someone does something, I look at what was their intention.
Yeah. So that's rare. Like just because we are talking about it right now doesn't mean that it's out there everywhere. Like that's rare. So I'm very grateful that I get to work with you in this capacity, and yeah, I'm looking forward. Hopefully, we get to work a lot more.
No, yeah, and I want to do more, because it's actually more. I want to dive more into the positive psychology and restorative practices things. I had so much to write in here, but I'm going to have you back on here, because the more we grow, because I know a lot of my listeners, they watch my show because of the information I put out there, and I want to keep them updated on everything that we're doing, the progress and all that. So we're definitely going to have you back on here.
Yeah, hopefully next time I'm back, we have a few more updates with how the program is going. We've only been here 5 weeks, and I do want to say that we already added one additional school to our original contract here in Lancaster. So we'll be working in one more school in only 5 weeks. That's a huge step forward. So we're hoping to continue down the same path and continue growing.
Cool. Well, thank you again, man. Appreciate you. I'll see you tomorrow in class. And wow,
thank you.
You got me today, man.
Thanks for having me.
I wasn't supposed to cry today, but you got me. But again, thank you again, man. I appreciate you.
Honored.
And we're gonna do it. We're gonna make it happen.
Thank you.
All right, we out of here, you guys. Stay tuned for more season 6. My goal, I didn't tell you guys this. My goal is to do 200 episodes. I'm at about 140 now. I know my first time I did this, I said I was only going to do 100 episodes. My goal was at 100 at one time. But I ended up doing 140. So now my goal is 200. So I'm going to be here for a while. But we got a lot of great things. I'm a new board director for Action for Kids, where we talk about, oh my God. Lisa's going to kill me. Lisa's on the show next. She's the chair for it, but child abuse. We talk about child abuse. Action for Kids is a big child abuse LA County mental health program. So Action for Kids is a part of that. It's part of 12 different councils of the mental health child abuse program. So we are a big organization. I think I talked to you about that before.
I think you did tell me about
it. So we're doing amazing things. I'm a new board member, so I'm just getting caught up with everything. But from the 2 meetings I've been in, like, we're doing some amazing things. I'm happy to be a part of that board right now. Lisa is my chair. She's been a good friend of mine for a couple of years. She was actually in the first cohort of the positive psychology class, and that's how she met me, because she became a fan of my show. But she's coming on. She's been on my show before, but so you guys know her. She's coming on, I think, next week or the week after. I got a lot of new guests here. I got James Coombs, who's a mental health specialist for LA County. He's on the board for mental health for LA County. He's going to be on here. So I got a lot of new guests coming, man. Like, stay tuned, you guys. This season 6 is going to be just on. All right, guys. I'm out of here.